senseless tasks conjured by parents and grandparents. Every human being has tens of thousands of genes, 20,000 or more. Genes reside on chromosomes, impossibly tiny threads of DNA, strung like beads with the secrets of our future. Most of us have 23 pairs of chromosomes orbiting deep in our marrow. How our genes and our chromosomes fall together is the first stroke toward defining who we will be. Our bodies put cells in order within moments of conception. Tall or short, boy or girl, partial to cilantro or likening its taste to soap, musical or tone deaf, sick or well. When a cell divides, two identical new cells are made. These are called daughter cells. When they divide again, you have two more daughter cells. Errors can occur. All the genes from the original cell may not make it into the daughter cell. Sometimes more than one copy of a chromosome occurs in a daughter cell, diverting normal development. Knowing no history of disease in their pasts, other than the anecdotal, my mother's father was diabetic, a great aunt on my father's side may or may not have had breast cancer, my parents had little to fear when they decided to have children. My sister Susie developed leukemia when she was 6. My mother said later that Susie's illness seemed to fall from the clear blue sky. Susie was 8 when she died, and I was 10. Sarah was 4, and had been alternating periods of sickness and health since birth. When Sarah was 3 months old, she was strangely ill, plagued with skin infections that medication could not control. After many months of seeking an answer from a phalanx of doctors, someone made an accurate diagnosis of Costman's syndrome. Sarah had an alarmingly low number of granulocytes in her bloodstream, a type of white blood cell key to fighting infection. Her body could manufacture the cells, but they died before they matured. More than 3,000 cases of acute lymphocytic leukemia, the most common type for children, are diagnosed annually in the U.S. The odds of being born with Costman syndrome have been described as close to 1 in 2 million. I'm the oldest of 3 sisters, and by the time I was 32, I was the only one living. And this book is written to remember who my sisters were and who I was. Who was that girl who grew up in this family? And what happened to the family? And how did they move on in their lives, knowing that this was around them? So I'm going to jump ahead to a section in the book, brief section in the book. After Susie died, my father moved the family to Jamaica, to the West Indies, for basically a summer. I think to clear his head, to put us somewhere else. So here's a little bit after that. We left the concrete house in the Stony Beach and came back to Atlanta in time for Sarah and me to start the new school year. My skin had baked to the brown-red color of anthills, which other kids joked about, as if I'd undergone a transformation at the beach. The teasing didn't last long, deflating into a limp trial balloon of a forbidden word. 11-year-olds have short attention spans. They soon turned their attention to a fluffy-headed dandelion of a girl who apparently spoke only Greek. After Susie died, I began collecting details of the lives around me. Inventorying the minutiae of my loved ones' lives would hold them still in my mind, tethering them to the kitchen table, the front seat of the car, or the auditorium during assembly at school. I had been casual in my relationship with Susie, although I knew I had not been responsible for her illness or death. Both events proved to me that I could no longer allow the world to turn without my fervent attention. I imagined that I had grown a huge eye and an elephantine ear that allowed me to catch the sights and sounds that weaker and less alert individuals would miss. What kinds of bread the delivery man unloaded at the grocery while I held my breath and loitered by the gumball machine, or the number of times a woodpecker rapped on a tree outside the family room. If I could notice everything around me, I would have worked hard enough to keep everyone alive. Sarah took daily antibiotics to forestall infection. When she was well, she participated fully in daily life, but our parents and Sarah learned not to make long-range plans in case a hospitalization or infection interfered. Mom signed the permission slips or RSVP'd for a birthday party for Sarah, just in case, but Sarah knew there were no promises. I never saw her throw a tantrum about it. Her mouth was often sore, a side effect of the pills. Mom swabbed the inside of Sarah's lips with a medicine called gentian violet that smelled to me like dirty socks and made Sarah look as if she had been eating grape candy. When the first and second graders performed a play commemorating the burning of Atlanta during the Civil War, Sarah got the role of a flame. one of a gang of kids who would turn the city to ash. My mother assembled a costume of orange pants and clutches of bright crepe paper streamers. With her classmates, Sarah jumped up and down on the periphery of the stage during the climactic scene, shaking her paper flames and screaming, "Atlanta is burning, Atlanta is burning." In those years when Susie's death was new, Sarah and I did not talk about our sister or discuss what we remembered about her. We didn't say that we missed her or imagine out loud what she would be doing now if she were alive. I was following my parents' lead by not looking back. As early as first grade, Sarah was good with words and good at math, a subject I balked at, unwilling to accept that 1/2 and 2/4 and 4/8 could amount to the same thing. Think of fractions like languages, Mom told me, exasperated. She alighted on a kitchen chair, trying to will me to concentrate on my homework. Bonjour is to hello, as 2/4 are to 1/2. They're different ways to say one thing with the same meaning. Why give the same thing different names, I whined. Just call it all the same thing and leave you the hell out of it. Things should be whole. Fractions were ominous proof that everywhere, not just in our family, objects break apart and pieces fall away. Sarah sat across the kitchen table, breezing through her homework, listening to me protest about mine. Her math talent was circumstantial. She had absorbed the logic behind pill dosages and the way meds were titrated for her body weight. More than a dozen years later, Sarah would excoriate me in a restaurant in New York because I still couldn't figure a tip. "Move the decimal," she said through gritted teeth. My sister was beautifully dressed, even in old jeans, a t-shirt, and a designer jacket she'd found at a discount store. She wore her heavy blonde hair pulled away from her face, hanging down her back. She looked at me hard. "Round the number up or down to the nearest multiple of 10 and move the goddamn decimal to the left." I couldn't do it. I couldn't break some invisible mental rule and allow myself to move numbers around in a way that seemed dangerously willy-nilly. Sarah determined the tip, not much on 2 bowls of seafood bisque, salads, and iced tea. By the time we left the restaurant, we were laughing. Our big sister and little sister roles reversed again. Thank you.